during that time, again, marriage was not anything to write home about. I was very upset with how my marriage was going, and I had really deeply wanted a successful marriage. So that hit me massively, because I had, again, I talk about this on other videos. I had intention, but I didn't have action, and I do feel I needed to come to admit that I did not love and care for my wife in the way that a husband needs to do that, and it was not a good match. We did not have alignment. So I want to make sure that I always take accountability for my piece and why the marriage failed. But so that's topic for other things. But in the time I was in the thick of it, man, I was really down in the dumps, and I know a lot of you have been there. But biggest thing for me was this lack of potential that had fulfilled, right? I did everything right in my academic career, went to a great college, came out, got a great job, and then that place that I was at was just kind of shut down unceremoniously, like a year after I got a job at a great company. So that happened a couple times, and then I ended up working myself to death at a company because it was just, I wanted to not get laid off again, and I ended up becoming a slave to that company. And that was its own thing. I was working way too hard. But anyways, so what I ended up doing was saying, hey, like, I've run a couple of these like Tough Mudder races, which is basically you jump in a giant dumpster of ice, and you're crawling underneath barbed wire and getting electrocuted, all this kind of stuff, and it's like a 12-mile race. Well, I did pretty well, and I thought, hey, I think I could go further. What if I did an ultra marathon? And my father had done an ultra marathon when he was getting over cancer and is much younger. Probably a time that I was kind of going through the period that I was going through. So I ended up saying, yeah, like, I feel like I need something. I feel like I need to jolt myself. And I had felt like I had been an athlete, when I was younger in my life. I had felt that I had a lot of potential. Again, you go to a really good school, and you do really well academically, you come out, and then all of a sudden you think your success is going to continue, and then you get a couple bad bumps, and then you're in a relationship that's not working, and you feel like gutter trash. It's really rough. So I had felt like I was not fulfilling my trajectory that I had wanted to, my own potential, for a long time. So I saw this race and said, hey, I got really big into I read a couple books on ultra running with Rich Roll or whatever, and talking about the Tarahumara runners that run barefoot in the mountains in South America, this type of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. So I ended up doing something crazy. So I had never run a marathon before. I had never really run more than 12 miles at a time. And I never really seriously trained for anything long distance. I was a sprinter when I was much younger. But I said, you know what, fuck it. I really need this kind of, something was calling me to go on this kind of, and I think that's throughout history. That's kind of a common thing with people. It's like a calling to do some sort of kind of spiritual journey that's tied to a physical kind of journey. So I ended up signing up for a 50-mile ultra marathon, and the day that I signed up, I was really scared. I was scared shitless, because I said, you know what, I'm just going to sign up, and I'm going to put my money down and commit to this thing. So I did that, but I said, holy shit, 50 miles is a long time. And I looked at how long it took to complete a race, and it blew my mind. And but for me, I was also filled with excitement and enthusiasm. So I went online, I printed out a run calculator, which basically told you, hey, if you want to get from only being able to run a 5K to 50 miles in the next, I think it had like several months to train, here's every week that you need to do. So I ended up doing it, and I stayed to the schedule. I ended up having to run a significant amount on my lunch hours. Sometimes I'd have to run 5 miles, sometimes I'd have to run 8 miles on my lunch hour, and get back and go to work. And then on the weekends, I had really, really long runs. But I tell people often, if you're stuck in your life, or if you're struggling with depression, running is a great thing. Running, I strongly recommend running, and for a couple reasons. If you're running, inherently, when you're focused on your health, when you're focused on your body and optimizing how much you can run, how long you can go, you're not going to be sitting there putting bad food into your body. And you're also going to be trying to get a good night's sleep. So the 3 pillars of health are diet, exercise, and sleep. So when you inherently are investing in yourself with the running, these other things kind of fall in line, because you're like, hey, I don't want to be, burping up a cheeseburger from last night when I'm on my morning run or whatever. So I'm gonna maybe think about what I'm putting in my body, and I want to be leaner so that I'm not carrying extra weight. So I always tell people, like, running takes you places. It takes you places literally, because you're moving around the environment and going to places, but it takes you places figuratively. And I think that there's a tremendous spiritual component in training for a marathon. And so yeah, I want to wrap the video up. I don't want to continually make these videos that are like 15-20 minutes long all the time, but effectively I ended up running this ultra marathon, and in the course of the training, it massively changed my life. I had all these issues with my marriage and all these issues with my career, and on my training runs, if you think about it, you don't get much time to yourself, to your thoughts. If you're at work, you're sitting there doing work, or you're slacking off and looking at internet websites. If you're at home, you're on your phone and you're clicking through doom scrolling bullshit, or you're watching some Netflix thing or whatever. You're not sitting there on the couch thinking for a long time. If you go out and on a run, and you got these runs that take an hour and a half, you're out there with your thoughts, man. Like, you got a lot of time to think and a lot of time to assess how your life is going. It's almost meditative. And then your body also releases endorphins, and you get like this runner's high. And so you get these kind of waves of euphoria. So I'm going to wrap up there, but just to close that loop, running gave me a lot of time to think about my life, and it really it showed me that I attribute training for that ultra marathon, that 50-mile race over the course of 6 months. I was able to have a lot of time alone with my thoughts, and I realized at that time that my marriage was basically it wasn't going to go the distance, and I felt that I needed to be proactive and take the reins and do something about it. And the action that I ended up taking was filing for divorce. And in my personal situation, again, there was will always want to say it takes two to tango, and I have an accountability in that failure. But to me, that was a decision that was the best decision in that case. I'm not a huge advocate for divorce for people. It's very messy. But for me, I really appreciated the clarity that I was able to get from having all of that time on the road and thinking about my life and what made the most sense. And a lot of times, if you think about it, you just don't have a lot of time to just really think and really meditate on stuff. And running gave me that opportunity, in addition to being extremely healthy. And I'll just close with, I ended up completing that ultra marathon. It was a 50-mile race. It took me 9 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. And I was able to carry my daughter. I think she was like 3 at the time. I picked her up close to the finish line. I was able to carry her across. And I had felt profoundly proud of my accomplishment. It really, again, having really suffered a lot in terms of self-worth and just not fulfilling my potential, fulfilling this race. I tell a lot of people that what I had accomplished, and they were stunned. And they were really taken aback and said, wow, 50 miles. So it's not necessarily we should be searching for validation from other people, but I really needed a win in my life. And challenging yourself to something that you don't think that you can do, and just saying, fuck it. I only have one life to live, and I'm gonna do this thing. A lot of people won't understand it. My mom was like, what are you doing this? Who do you have to prove anything to? Why do you have to do this? She didn't get it. A lot of people don't get it. But it's not for them to get, it's for you to get. So, whatever your skill level at or whatever, I really strongly recommend, if you're in a funk in your life, and just think about running. Think about maybe signing up for a race that is beyond your perception of what you think you can accomplish, to get your motor going, to get your mojo back, to get your feeling of, I can fulfill potential. I can work on a project that's unique to me, that's on my own doing, through my own blood, sweat, and tears, and I can accomplish something big. And it really gives you a confidence boost. So anyways, hey, again, I'm a really small growing channel. I really appreciate you guys watching. I'd love to hear your comments, and thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.